Hello and welcome to Columbus Local Podcast. I'm Len D'Amico, and this is episode number 67. This evening, Chuck Oney.
Hey, how's it going?
Chuck.
67, the summer of love. This is episode of love.
It's the episode of love. And Chuck Oney, you know, that name just resonates with so many in the Columbus music scene. And, you know, you're known for being an original artist, and you've done a lot. You know, we can start, I think, with maybe what you're currently doing.
Yeah. Oh, sure. Yeah. I'm currently, like right now, I am currently getting ready for some shows. I'm not sure when this will air, but I'm getting ready for some shows in May.
Minutes from
now. Okay. All right. Yeah. So next month I'm doing some shows.
So we'll date it. So it's April the 23rd.
April the 23rd.
2024.
Yes. So May 17th, I will be at Little Rock. We are doing the return of the 80s power ballads and rock songs show. Emphasis on power ballads, but we do some rock songs. We used to do it every year, all the time at Andy Mann's Treehouse, but Little Rock is doing a 25-year, since the Treehouse opened, Treehouse takeover all week long. It's Treehouse people, Treehouse events, that happened at Little Rock. So we're bringing back the 80s power ballads, which we hadn't probably done in about 5 years. Last one we did was at Big Room Bar, but we did them. This would be 14. It's not annual anymore, but it'd be the 14th 80s Power Ballads and Rock Songs show. So we're bringing those back.
Little Rock is on 4th.
It's on 4th, yeah.
On 4th Street.
It's on 4th Street, and we got some, I'll be playing an acoustic set with Scott Carr, formerly of Radio Tramps, The Vague, and Oney. And then also I'll be playing a full set with, it's called CCO's House Rockers. So two of the people in the band I'm playing with have the initial CCO. I'm one of them. Carolyn O'Leary's the other one. So yeah. That's really cool. So we used to play with the Coffee House Rebels with Brian Clash. So it's everybody but Brian, but we're doing that. And that is May 17th at 8 p.m. So
that sounds like a fun time, man.
That's going to be fun. Yeah. It's all, everybody's doing power ballads. And, like I said, there's also some other, Ian Hummels playing, Keith Jenkins is playing, Quinn Fallon of Little Rock is playing, the Little Rock All-Stars, Pink Slipper. We'll be playing a band called Pink Slipper, just an all-star that you may know one of the singers in it. Her name is Tiffany.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, she's going to be singing with Keith. I think they're called Pink Slipper. At least that's what they were last I heard.
Wow.
So that's
good to hear.
Yeah, that's the 17th. And then the 18th is a full-on next day. It starts at 5 p.m. and goes to 11 of all bands that used to play the Tree Bar or the Tree House all the time. I'll be reuniting with the Vague, my band from that time period, and then it'll be B.A. Baracus, X-Rated Cowboys, Bookmobile, Mrs. Children. I'm sure I'm leaving somebody out, but it's going to be 5-6 bands playing all the stuff that you would hear at Andy Mann's in the late 90s, early 2000s. So
and that's happening where?
That same place, Little Rock. That's the next night. That's the 18th. And that will be, like I said, it's my old power pop band, The Vague, is reuniting for that one. We haven't played together since 2013.
Damn.
Since the guys all ran off and started Radio Tramps. We have not played since then. And so
is there still some ill will?
Oh, no. We're all friends now. We're all friends. No, we're all friends.
The way you said it, I was like,
no, all good. I love those guys.
Control.
Yeah. I've been playing with those guys for years and years and years. And then the following week, I actually do a charity event. It's year 8 at Huntington, West Virginia, not here in town, not in Columbus, but it's at the place called The Loud, and it's called Hooligans Homecoming, where all these bands get back together. It's all heavy metal, like not power ballads. It's all metal, and that'll be the 25th, and that starts at 1 p.m. and goes to 8 p.m.
Wow.
Yeah. So I got a lot on my plate, man. For somebody who's not in a band, I got a lot of stuff going on.
You still do. And on top of all that live performance, correct me if I'm wrong, but I've listened to your new album, right?
Yes, Authorized Information.
Authorized Information.
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about your latest
Okay, yeah, I'd love to talk about
release.
That. Yeah, it's been a few years now since I released it. It was released at the end of May in 2021, but I'm still doing, because I don't play out as much. That's my newest thing as far as I promote my new solo shows. I do a lot of stuff from that album. And I have some players that I'm playing with in the VEG and who played on that record. And I'm also doing the Hooligans Homecoming with Scott Carr that we mentioned. He will be there. He played on my record. Kyle Virgin, who was in Radio Tramps, he played drums on it. But mostly it was mostly me. But then we have a little side 2 is like a backstory of me and the bands I've been in. And so I was in Oney with Kyle and Scott. I was in the VEG with Kyle and Scott. So those are songs that are on side 2. And then but mostly me. So
oh my gosh.
So yeah, so the VEG is reuniting, and there's one song on that called "Pissed It Away" that is a VEG song that we never released. So when I did that record, I knew I was going to do it on vinyl, and thanks to Uncle Stimmy, I got a little extra cash. I wasn't going to.
You're talking about stimulus.
The stimulus that we got from Uncle Stimmy. Yeah. So I used that, and I was going to release it on, digitally and then on disc, but then I decided to release it analog too on cassette and on vinyl, which I always wanted something on vinyl. So it's out there. If you want to find it, you can hit me up on Bandcamp and I'm very proud of it. Yeah, I hope you like.
I love that.
What song do you like the most? Not putting you on the spot.
No,
I'm curious.
I'm thinking too fast. It was.
Rat in Disguise?
In Disguise.
Yes.
Yeah. That's my song. Babe.
Okay, cool. That was the song I pushed the most, and I actually I had a little video. It wasn't.
It's a good tune.
It was a lyric video. I appreciate that. That one I'm playing everything on by myself.
Rat in Disguise.
Yeah.
I mean, Matt. Yeah.
It's kind of heavy a little bit, and I probably shouldn't have used that as a lead-off single, but I felt that was kind of the most of where I was at the time,
Dude, I hope it doesn't offend you because I don't like to compare.
Right.
Okay, but listening to the timbre of your voice and how you deliver it's reminiscent to me of early Elvis Costello.
Hey, man.
Like Punch the Clock type era. Like
I will take that in a heartbeat. That's I
mean, honestly, I was like, man, this is good.
You're not the first person that told me that. Goldmine Magazine said that too when I was in the VEG, that I sound like a cross between Elvis Costello and Paul Stanley, and I will take that any day. If it couldn't be Elvis Presley and John Lennon, I'll take Elvis Costello and Paul Stanley.
You are you, right?
Yeah.
You're you, and I respect that about you, and your delivery of your emotional songs. Like
right.
You're saying whatever you're performing, I can feel it.
Oh, that's good. I'm glad. I appreciate you saying that.
But it taps into some of the, I think, the good feelings that I get when I listen to Elvis Costello.
Oh man, that's I'll take that any day of the week. I appreciate that. Yeah.
There's a lot of emotion in your live performance, as well as I can pick it up in that album.
Yeah. I mean, I try to, emote. I'm not like the most, I used to play in a band when I was in the band Oney with our guitar player, Mickey Daniels, and he was a real soul. You could just feel it in his gut. And as I gotten older, somehow that kind of has rubbed off on me, I think. He was like a Rod Stewart kind of singer, and he could, and I normally just kind of sing what I feel, and if I'm recording it and it's if it's a sad song, I wanna get that emotion across. And then I try with this record not to sing in the same timbre or style. I branched out a little bit on Zone, and then on Heartache I branched out a little bit, trying to sing softer and higher, as far as Dave Grohl does that great when he's singing soft, and he's trying to convey an emotion. I try to do that more with this record than just doing flat out belting out rock tunes. I tried to tap into that a little more, and I'm glad you like that. And then I like to just yell and scream too, and everybody else. But and celebrate life. But I tried to tap in a little bit more vocally of more feelings.
You're a rocker.
Yeah, I am at heart. Yeah,
it still shines. But I'm glad that you're allowing yourself to kind of naturally melt into the right crevices.
Yeah, I mean, I really respect Robin Zander from Cheap Trick, how he kind of became a different character for every song. So I'm trying to incorporate that more into what I'm writing about. I'm trying to get more into that vibe. Because Robin can do it all, and I just he's a big influence on me. But I'm trying to tap more into that vibe.
That's interesting. It's real interesting. And, before we kind of get to your backstory, I was curious how you write, because you're obviously a writer, and you're an arranger and you're a producer and you're a multi-talented, multi-instrumentalist, musician. But how do you go about writing? What's the setting for you, and how do you go into that creative process?
It's usually different, but for this record in particular, I got a new guitar, electric guitar. So I was riffing on songs and just kind of, hey, this is a cool riff, like the Rat in Disguise riff, and then Mixed Star was something I'd had that we kind of tried to work up in the vague, but we never fleshed it out. And I kind of fleshed it out. And even Authorized Information, where it starts off with just a guitar lick, that just came, just playing around on a new instrument and going, wow, that's kind of cool. But then, the piano song, I just was playing piano. I'm just, and it was a totally different vibe. And then Zone was just me on acoustic guitar, just kind of, that song is kind of a pattern after Tracy Chapman's Fast Car. That was my influence on that song. And I was just in my head going, wow, this is kind of a cool guitar lick. And I always loved how that song to me spoke of, and I'll say this, I do not like the country version, the new version of that song, but it got her a lot of more prep and praise, but I love her version.
A resurgence.
Yeah, and resurgence, and she got got to be on. She got more ears on that song, but her song, I just always felt like the melancholy of it, and just it always would take me to this place. Like I almost felt like you could feel kind of the hopelessness, but in that, I don't know if this makes sense, but in the hopelessness, you can kind of feel a little bit of hope if they could just get out of this situation. And that's what I tried to convey in Zone, the song Zone. It's a whole different topic, but it was just kind of like, I wanted it to be like, I wanted it to feel a little bit more less hopeless, but more having hope about something that's probably never going to come true. And so I patterned that off the instrumentation that she did. So that was a whole different, like, just came up with a riff, played the song, and in my head and going, wow, that's kind of cool. And then thinking, it sort of, I really always liked that Tracy Chapman song. What if I could write something like she did? So every song is different, and it just,
I gotcha.
And it just,
and you just
some
experiment.
song,
You're just experimenting.
And some songs it may just be and that story in that song is all true. All that happened. But it may be, just like a line or a lyric or something I'm humming when I'm driving. So everything's different, and it's the one song on there, the very last song on the first side, I just picked up a guitar and was just playing guitar and singing, the producer guy said, hey, let's capture that real quick. And so we did it like in 2 takes, but it's a slow song. So, yeah.
So sometimes it just come to you like that.
Just
Other
come to you,
times
yeah.
You're thinking it through, like the Tracy.
Zone was like that. It was a
example.
total true story. It's
Wow.
something that happened to me. And then I just, it's a little bit embellished in spots, but, I just was, just thinking about something. I'm usually influenced by something. And then with that, if I come up with a cool riff or a cool piano line, I'll try to think of what I want to do next. Like A.B. was on piano, and I was like, wow, this would be cool. But then Prince passed away, and I've always loved Prince, but I never realized how big of an influence it was on me until he passed away. And then I just kind of thought, what would Prince do if he was doing, I'm no Prince, but I was just like, what would he do if he's doing this song? And so that kind of changed my whole direction. I was like, Prince always used electronic drums. He always used,
man.
So I just kind of went that way with that song. And
It's
then,
beyond funk, right?
Yeah.
It's rhythmic.
Yeah. And even though that's
groove.
a slow song, I was thinking, what would he do if he's in it?
Man.
But what is curious with like the title tune, Authorized Information, That whole song came about. I was a big fan of when David Bowie passed. I was actually like, I had just watched the video how he did William S. Burroughs' cut and paste method for some songs. And that's where he would, cut up sentences and make different sentences. And I always thought that was cool. I'd love to do that. So that song, I was actually watching television and I had my remote and I just clicked to a channel and the first thing they said on the channel, just wrote it down.
No way.
Click to the next channel, wrote it down. Click to the next channel, wrote it down. And I got about 4 channels in and I started like reading the lyrics and I was like, these are kind of like making sense. So I did it again and I wrote it down, and I just went through the whole song. So everything on there, I wrote what I heard on the television. And then I was thinking I need a song title for this song. Well, I had picked up a scrap piece of paper in my bedroom and I started writing it down. And I was looking at the paper and I looked on the other side of the paper and I had lost my credit card and I got a new PIN number in my card and it said, you need to authorize information for this pen. And I went, authorize information. There's my song title.
Nice.
So that was cool. So it was funny. I tell people that I work for WOSU, pick out the line in it where I actually went to my TV station and what they said on there. It's in there. It's in the song.
That's cool, man. That's very cool.
Yeah. So that and I'd like to do that again. But that was one of those rare gifts from the gods. Because when you read the lyrics, you go, "Oh, there's no way that this happened while he was." But it's all true. First thing I heard, I just wrote it down.
Man.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
So how often do you write?
Well, I go through periods. Lately, I have not been writing a lot. When I wrote that authorized information, probably from the beginning of fleshing out songs to when I actually recorded them, was probably like a 5-year process. Maybe even longer, because I started recorded like basic tracks and basically ran out of money, and then had to like kind of get more money, and then been listening to the basic tracks and I kind of didn't like them, so I kind of put them away for about a year, pulled it back out and listened to it, and was like, I don't know why I was thinking, why did I not like these? These are great. So then that's when I started kind of gathering more money and putting it all together. Then COVID happened. Right. So went on another shutdown. And then finally, the guy I was recording with, Eric French, I was actually playing bass and filling in for bass for his band that he had at the time and rehearsing at his house. And he said, well, you're here anyway. Why don't we just like finish these songs? So we finished it. And then I put it out. Yeah, the fall. We finished it February of 2021. But get back to your question. I go through spells where I get hit with the bug and I write a ton. And then I go through spells where I don't have anything. I've not really had anything since this record came out. I put so much time and energy and I've gotten riffs here and there, but I haven't really, I've been living life and I promoted this thing for a few years and so now I've just been kind of, I haven't sat down in that place where I need to write songs right now. So, yeah. And honestly, I've been having a really good life for the last 3 years, so I haven't been unhappy.
That's good to hear, man.
Well, I mean, good for me.
As you should, though. Man.
Yeah, I mean, good for me. I'm in a happy place in life, and I usually tend to write when I'm more not in a happy place. So, hopefully, I won't get not in a happy place, but I'll somehow channel that old energy, old sad energy back in. Oh man. I can't write songs when I'm happy, man. It's hard for me. It doesn't work. I'm happy coming along. Yeah, I can't.
Oh wow, that's good stuff, man. So you're obviously out there, with making music.
Yeah.
Live and recording.
Yes.
You're writing. It doesn't seem like, so much recently, but it's good. Yeah. Looking forward to another time of. Oh yeah.
I'll definitely got another record
coming out.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Are you involved in anything else with media and what are those things?
Well, I work in television, but I'm also in a Kiss 80s tribute band called Unmask Ohio. We don't do Kiss with the makeup. We do the 80s Kiss. I sing in that band. I sing the Paul Stanley parts, but I don't play the guitar. We have another guitar player. And And we do all Kiss from non-makeup from the 1980s. And we actually have a show July 13th at Turtle Creek Tavern and September 13th, a charity show at Cock and Bull Tavern. So we're going to do those shows.
My calendar for
we've only played one show as Unmask Ohio. It's called Unmask Ohio, and it's not about the masking or COVID of that. We were doing it because Kiss Unmasked, and they had an album called Unmasked. So we're doing it because we were unmasked. We're doing Kiss without the makeup, and then we found out there was another band from New Jersey that does 80s Kiss. And they're called Unmasked. So we had to change it to Unmask Ohio.
In Ohio, is it Ohio or OH?
OH.
Okay.
But we call it when we're talking, we say Unmask Ohio.
Got it.
Yes. Got it. So I wanted to call, somebody wanted to call it something else, but then we just decided, let's just make it Unmask Ohio, but do the OH instead of the whole thing. So. But
that's cool.
That's fun. That's a fun project.
And is it that era, the unmasked era of Kiss tunes, or is it all catalog?
It's all no. It's just in even the Unmasked album, they were still in makeup. We do from 1983 when Lick It Up when they took it off,
right,
till Revenge.
Okay,
and then they put it back on in '96. So we're all that time period. No makeup songs. Technically, we get away with one makeup song. We play I Love It Loud. But in 1985, they reissued Creatures of the Night with an album cover with them with no makeup on. So
it counts.
So we technically getting away with it.
Well, yeah, whatever you want to do. You make the rules.
Right, yeah. And then the only other media stuff is, I just work in television. I used to work on the show Broad and High that has a lot of live bands. I don't work on that show anymore through work. I do other things, but occasionally I'll get the local bands they'll ask me to find local bands for the end credits of that show and the show Columbus Neighborhoods. So on WSU, yeah.
And we heard some of your original music as part of the credits, did we not?
Oh, yeah. It's funny. I've never actually played on the show. They've never asked me, and I've never said, hey, can you get me on? But I've always said, if you in a pinch and you can't find anybody, let me know. I can get a band together and play my songs. But no, they've never asked me. So I'm just like, all right, you don't want to ask me. But they will say, the other day, I had one of the producers go, hey, do you guys got a song that I can use? And so I gave him one of the Vake songs. And he's like, oh, man, this is perfect. This is what I was looking for. I was like, all right, well, we're playing that song on May 18th at Little Rock.
Damn. Well, good.
Yeah. So other than that, yeah, just trying to live life, man. Trying to see a lot of bands and stuff like that and artists. I like to go see different people, local, national.
So much out there, man.
Yeah. Really I try to, I can't go out as much as I used to. Just because, everything's expensive nowadays, but I try to go support my friends when I can. I used to be out, every Friday and Saturday night going to see bands, but I don't do that as much. I have to, pick and choose.
Yeah. Well, we all have, we have lives and
well, we do. And I feel kind of bad because I have a lot of friends that are bar owners and I don't usually go to their bars. And it's not because I don't want to, it's because I try to go to wherever the band I really want to see is playing. And so if it's not at my friend's bar, I'm going to go see the band instead of the bar. That's just how I am.
Yep. No, I get that.
And I feel bad because I'll look down the list of places that I've been on my phone. I was like, oh, wow, I haven't been to my friend's bar in 6 months. But, I'll try to pop in and hey, I'm here. I'm trying to support you. Yeah,
Pre-game.
Yeah, kind of thing, And I'm not like the Kulos who've been on here where they go to 7 bars in one night. I can't do that anymore. Those days of me doing that are long gone.
Oh man!
But they do it, man. They support. They mortar and they support people, and it's like I wish I could do that, but I can't. It's just me.
we're lucky to get 3 if we're doing something like that.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
No, it's a good practice to get out with. It's a good idea.
Good
approach.
Yeah. There's nothing like supporting people around town. That's what's becoming lately. It seems like it's at least in the cover band world, where you see all the, listening to your podcasts and stuff and seeing the pictures of all the lady singers getting together and doing stuff, That used to be, in the original band scene, and even in the hair metal days when I first moved to Columbus, it was all competition. you were trying to steal their fans to come to your show. So I see that in the cover band world here, where the bands are all kind of supporting each other, and that's a pretty cool thing.
It's very cool. It really is, and there's so much talent to pick from. Too.
Yeah,
and everybody's very, very supportive. That's a very shared observation.
Yeah,
from many.
Oh yeah, and that's a good thing in this town, because that's that's what makes Columbus cool. You know what I mean? That's what makes the music scene cool. And it's okay to have competition, to want to up, hey, my friend is headlining here and I want to headline there. And that's natural. That makes you better, and it makes you want to be better. But I think it's cool when bands just kind of hang out and support each other. And I'm sorry, bands, I don't go out as much as I used to. My days in the Vague, where I went out all the time, is not like I used to, but I do go, and I try to always, when I do go, take pictures of the band and post them, or post videos of them. And, so my other friends who don't go see bands can learn of them. Yeah. I try to do that. I try to be that supportive.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome, man.
Yeah. I mean, that's what we're all doing. It's for fun and, to get a little attention. We're all attention hounds, attention whores. I'm one of them.
Well, you keep bringing it. Keep doing that, man.
I got to have people notice me. Don't you notice that?
Chuck Oney, man. So where are you from? How did you get started in music?
Oh, okay. Well, it's how much time? When I was a kid, I got started when I was in 5th grade, I got started in school band as a drummer. And then when I got to, we moved when I was in 7th grade from Alaska to West Virginia. I started playing in marching type bands and stuff like that. And then, I was a drummer, started out cymbal player, bass drum player, drummer. And then eventually I started getting into rock bands. And so by the time I was in college, I was in a rock band pretty much full time. That was my job besides going to college. And that band, well, preface that, I actually moved. I was in college for 2 years as a music major, and then realized I didn't like classical music that much. So I got an offer to be a singer in a cover band out in Washington State that was traveling around the circuit. So I did that for about almost a year. That band kicked me out because I started losing my vocals and sounding more like Bruce Springsteen and Bryan Adams instead of Elvis Costello. And also nagging the guitar player about, why can't I write any songs with you guys? So they kicked me out, and then I immediately got into a band in Florida. And that band, I thought we were going to make it in, and we were the same thing. We traveled Florida, Georgia, Alabama, West Virginia, Ohio. We did that circuit, and then that lasted for about a year. Guitar player quit. I decided that I wanted to be in a band that it did not matter if the guitar player quit, because I was going to be the face of the band. So I decided at that time Bon Jovi and Dio and Dokken were all big. And I thought, well, I'll just call the band Oney. And everybody thought it was Oney or Oney. And so I started the band. Oneater. Yeah. So I started the band because I knew it was all about branding. And if people kept quitting and you had to keep restarting over, you weren't branding anything. So I was like, well, I'm not going to quit. So if the drummer quits, that's all right. We'll just replace it with somebody else. And eventually that happened. We couldn't keep a guitar player, a lead guitar player. We couldn't keep a drummer. But eventually we got guys, and Scott Carr was one of them, and Kyle Virgin of Radio Tramps was another. Eventually we got guys that stayed. So then you become like a band. And so that band was, we moved to Columbus in that band.
Okay. So from where though?
From Kentucky. We were from Huntington, West Virginia, Ashland, Kentucky. And then we moved to Columbus because Kyle, the drummer, was going to go to DeVry. And basically where we were at in Kentucky, all the clubs kind of closed up and became like either DJ clubs or country clubs. So we didn't have any place to play.
Yeah, what year are we talking?
This is 1990. So we moved to Columbus, and it was the beginning of 1990, but summer of 1990. Then we moved in like October, and then we started playing Columbus probably, I think it was like April, May of 91. We didn't last too long in Columbus because, the grunge scene came in and that band kind of died by the summer of 92. I kind of fumbled around a bit in the band with the guys that are now on Jackass Genius. We were in a band called Mr. Two-Face with me singing instead of Dave. But they were doing a lot of covers, and I just, that wasn't where my heart and soul was at the time. I wanted to write. So that's when Scott Carr and I started the Vague. And then eventually Kyle Virgin joined the Vague, and then we were together for 20 years. So Chris, who played in Chris Mills, who played bass in Radio Tramps, was also our drummer too. He plays drums. He would fill in when Kyle would quit. Chris would come in, and so it was very. In the Vague, we had the same three guys up front: me, Scott, and our bass player Jamie Forsyth, and then we had the same three drummers twice, and at one point I played drums for a year twice. I sang and played drums like Jellyfish. Wow. We just played three-piece. So we were always going through drummers. And then that band broke up in 2013, and then I've been solo ever since. I've not been in... I had my own band for a while. It was Chuck Oney and the Flare-Ups, but I got tired of replacing people left and right, and I just was like, you know what? I'll just throw a band together whenever I need a band. And
it's hard.
I don't have to rehearse every week with a band. And
it's hard.
And I've gotten older, and I love playing in bands. I did a Christmas show with a band at Natalie's, not this past Christmas, but the Christmas before that. But I just threw together Carolyn, that I'm going to be playing with at the Power Ballads, and my friend Kevin. We just threw a three-piece band together. We rehearsed for 2 months, went out and played a Christmas show. And to be honest with you, it's one of the best shows I ever played in my life. And I was doing all the lead guitar stuff and singing.
Holy cow.
That was fun. And so I was just like, okay, that's what I'm going to do when I get asked to do shows as a band, or I just play acoustically, or fill in like the Hooligans Homecoming, where everybody does their homework. We don't rehearse. We just sing the songs. But It's surprising. It goes well.
That's cool.
Yeah. And occasionally Oney has had for the Hooligans Homecoming thing in West Virginia. This is year 8. Oney's reunited, I think, 3 or 4 of the times. We haven't the last few years, but we've reunited with different members of Oney. So it's been fun. And like I said, next month will be our first The Vague reunion. So it'll be fun.
Have you been advertising this?
I just started. I have not been advertising The Vague so much because we were trying to get a couple of the former members in the band, and they couldn't really commit because they got a lot of family stuff going on. So we couldn't settle on that. So I eventually had to make a call. It was bad timing. Scott, who's playing, he went on vacation this week, and then I go on vacation next week. So I only have a couple of days to rehearse. So we just didn't have enough time. So I had to we grabbed Chris Mills to play drums, and then I have a friend of mine that's going to play bass. Just because we're running out of time, and the other guys got family stuff going on, and their lives have been busy, and it was kind of hectic. And I was like, well, I committed to the show, so I got to grab some people and play it.
Yeah, for sure, man.
and I'm sure we'll do a full Vague on Vague reunion in a bigger stage in a bigger place sometime. But this one is just, it's a reunion, but it's 3 of the guys. Chris was in the Vague for a while, so it's not a full on, but I had to make a call at some point.
Right. Yeah. Well,
everybody's got lives. They got stuff going on. Yeah. So
you're rolling forward with what you're doing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I'm just having fun. I'm all about less stress nowadays, and I'm not band drama. And so I'm just like, okay, I just want to play and say yes or no and show up. That's all I care about.
With all this music too, Chuck, I think, well, there's two things I remember. I think I first met you at a Billy Spitfire legendary Halloween bash in his basement, jamming.
Oh, he has the best Halloween parties.
Oh, yeah. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
They're legendary, but there's so much music, right? And you meet people. That's where, I met some folks that I would have probably never met.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because he's got such an eclectic, intersection of circles of scenes of music.
Friends. Yeah. That's how I met Bart Jenkins. Was at this party. We were playing, and I was like, I like you, man. So he's a good guy. Yeah.
Bart's a killer bass player. He's a great singer.
Yeah, he is. I've only heard him sing a few times, but I think he was singing when we jammed together.
Yeah. You were there, Bart. Well, because it was Third Degree Sideburn. I think that was really performing in the basement.
Yeah,
and I think we kind of hijacked their show.
I think
we
did. Something happened. They took a
up
break
with Mikey and Urino, I think, that year.
Oh,
Do you know Mike?
Yeah, I know him a little bit. Yeah, I don't know him super well.
He and I were two of
Oh yeah,
four
wait a minute. Mike, I'm thinking some. Yeah, I know Mike.
okay. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, he plays bass, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I know Mike. We talk on Facebook all the time.
We had a project, and we went down there, and he ran into a bunch of people that he knew, hadn't seen in a long time.
Yeah.
And you were I think you were one of them.
Yeah, I've been in.
But we jammed, and then I think it was Bart Jenkins that said, "All right, guys, we're gonna play now."
That sounds right.
Thanks for muscling into our time zone.
Yeah. I may have drank a little bit that night. I don't know.
It was classic activity, and I'm sure it still is, and it was. I think Beth and I attended his party with his new wife.
Oh yeah. I haven't met her yet. Just seen her on my Facebook.
Big music fan.
Nice. That's good. You got to have that support.
Part of it.
My girlfriend Lisa I have now. She's into music. She doesn't get out as much as she used to. But she supports me, and you need that, man. You got to have the people that you love you back, even if they can't come and see you play all the time. At least that mentally that they're supporting you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, my family was never really one a lot to come to my gigs because my family lived all over the U.S. and even my mom and dad hardly ever came to see me play. But my dad, especially when he was alive, I knew that he really supported me and wanted me to do good. And one of the last things he said to me, he said, if this is really what you want to do, because I was still, I'm going to make it phase. Right before he passed away, one of the last things he said to me was, if this is really what you want to do, just keep doing it. Just keep doing it until you can't. So that was pretty cool. My mom was a little more conservative. I
like your dad's advice.
Well, my mom, I'm from the same town as Billy Ray Cyrus. So though he was a country guy, and I was a rock guy, my mom would go, Billy Ray made it. He wasn't playing that screaming, yelling, wearing makeup and crazy pants stuff that you're doing. But I love my mom, but I was like, Mom, I don't love country. I love you, but not country.
Yeah, well, you're honest.
Yeah, that's why I'm known as the rocker guy around town.
It's funny.
Yeah.
Well, again, with all the music too, you dabbled, I believe. The second time I met you, or our paths crossed, was
Tijuana.
We were running. Well, that was another time.
Tijuana jail cell. Yeah. Yeah.
We can't talk about.
We can't
that.
talk. Okay,
dude, we can't talk about that.
Yeah, all right.
Okay, you promise.
That elephant was crazy.
I was talking a little more closer to home, like at Bethel
Row Pub. Yeah.
Yeah. So, was that what was your first club experience? And what got you into that?
Well, that was my first. Well, I take that back. I actually, back before we moved to Columbus, I actually ran at this one bar on Thursday nights. I kind of ran an open mic before open mic was really like kind of a thing in the 80s. And
you did that in Columbus or before you?
I did that in Ironton, Ohio.
Ah, nice.
Not Columbus, but Ironton. And so I kind of had experience with that, but I never really pursued it. And then the Vague had played a show at Bethel Row Pub, which was really weird. We played this show, and I don't know, there was 2 or 3 bands, and we were one of the bands. And back then, it was a hip hop club. So where we played at, and I know you know where the stage and the DJ booth is.
Sure.
We played to literally 5 people. But as we were playing to our last song, where the pool tables was, they had it roped off, and all these people that were into rap, were hanging in, pouring in. It was it was a 50, 100 people waiting to get in, waiting for these guys to finish up with that crappy music. And so we got done, and while we're trying to carry our amps out, literally the DJ's playing music, and the place is just crazy packed, and everybody going nuts. And so the owner came up to me, and he said he liked my stage rap, and he said, rap, no pun intended. He liked what I said on stage and how I acted on stage as a frontman. So he said, hey, if I ever change the format of this music, I'm going to have you do something like maybe an open mic or something here. And I was just like, in the meantime, I'm like looking around this bar and it's like completely freaking packed. And I'm just like, why would you want to change the format of this music? It's not what I like, but man, there's like a crowd here. We just played to like 5 people playing rock. So anyway, about a year later, he calls me. You know, we kind of exchanged numbers, and he calls. Cool. I think I gave him a business card, and he called me and said, "Hey, I'm changing the format. We're getting away from rap and stuff, and we're going to go rock. We're going to become a rock bar." And I was like, "Okay." And he goes, "But we're going to start off with an open mic, and we want you to do the open mic. We want you to lead the open mic." And it was really weird. When I first started doing it, I got really big crowds for like about 3 months. I would have lines of people wanting to play. And I don't know if another club started around the same area on Bethel Road that did the same thing, but all of a sudden it just dropped. Like nobody like came. And I was like, okay, that's weird. So he decided Friday nights he wanted to actually have live bands.
Yeah.
So he asked me to get some bands, and I said, okay, I can talk to some bands. And he wanted the Vague to play. And then he asked me if I could do Saturday nights. And at the time, I really needed the cash. So I was just like, okay. And then he's like, well, I want you to run sound. And I'd never ran sound for bands, but I do audio stuff in my day gig. So I was like, okay, I'll run sound for bands, but you let me handle who books the bands, because I want to book them, not you. So, you know, he didn't give me any budget, so we just had to play for the door. He wouldn't even provide a door guy. It was me running sound and the bartender who was the general manager, and that was it.
Watching the door.
He made the bands bring somebody in. They wanted to get paid. They had to have somebody there checking IDs. And I was surprised, actually. I thought bands would be more inclined to have one of their friends handling the money. But a lot of bands got pissy about that. And I was like, you never played Old Fields at High when the owner's brother would skim the bands off the top. I had more than once, trust me.
Oh, but yeah, well, there's cash, there's hands.
Yeah, so exactly. And I was surprised, but he would not hire a door guy. And then so I was just like, okay. But I did that for about 3 years. Got a few national acts in. I got John Corabi, who was with Motley Crue. I got him in there. I got Mike Tramp, who was in White Lion. I got a few national acts in there, but I could not get these guys to advertise the bar. And I just spent I spent the summer there, and it was dead. And I just was like, I don't want to do this anymore. So what did they do? They hired a guy to run sound, but he didn't have to book the bands. And he was getting the same amount of money as I was. Dude. And I was just like, okay, whatever. But that burnt me out on that whole, I tried that experience. And I'm friends with the bar owner and his son now.
That's cool.
But I mean, at the time, when there was a crowd there, which usually the bands had to bring in, because that bar had no regulars. It was crowd there, the bar brought them in.
Dude,
no crowd in there, it was my fault. My fault. I would get like talked to at the end of the night. I'm just like, you can't have it both ways.
That was the old Polos, right?
Oh yeah, Polos. Yeah,
right on Bethel.
Yeah, it was. Old, it used to be Polos, and then it was
legendary.
I mean,
legendary real estate.
Yeah, legendary real estate. And actually, if you slide your car and the Bears backers, I got the Bears backers started there. Chicago Bears backers. We started there, and we're still around. We're at Andon's Pub now, but if you slid the credit card, it still said Polos on there. But but now they're called the Forge. It's a whole new. It's a gamers club. Yeah, it's a gamers place where
you're not associated there.
No, I've not been associated with Bethel Road Pub since 2013. That was my last summer there, and I was just like, it probably cost me the VEG. The guys in the VEG were not happy that I was spending my Friday and Saturday nights doing something else. It probably cost me the band, but I was kind of in dire straits financially, and it really helped me out financially. And I needed, and I wanted to see if I could be a manager of entertainment. And I got that on my resume as if I ever go into another field, entertainment manager, because I did that for 3 years. I booked all the bands. I talked to agents for the national. And one of the bands we had there has now went on to be famous. I forget who they are, but they were from Alabama, and they just made a stop there. They played all covers, and now they are famous. I have to think of the man name. I'll remember it later, but they needed a gig. I gave them a gig, And now I see them on, I'll watch their videos all the time on YouTube. And I'm like, wow, those guys, they were a really good band when they came in. They just played, I don't know why the name is escaping me, but they played like this 80s medley set where they did like Footloose and, I'm on, Danger Zone. They did
Good
like this,
stuff.
but they're like a metal band. Like they were heavy, like rock, but they were really good, man. They were just happy to have a gig. And so that was kind of cool meeting bands like that.
Yeah.
I'll remember their name eventually. We were talking earlier, and I was like, I can't remember everybody's name. I've been looking them up. I don't know. Getting old, man.
Believe me, I know what you're saying. So no more clubs then? No experience with actual clubs? I mean, I know
with working or booking them. No, I haven't done that since 2013. I haven't really been. I still do like when we do shows like the Power Ballads and stuff. I still kind of put that together, but for the bars. But I don't work for anybody.
Yeah,
I don't have a side gig anymore.
And I think you had some sort of a relationship with CD 101.
Yes, I was really good friends with Andy Man when it was CD 101.
Oh man!
And I used to do Colin Gal used to get on there on Friday afternoons, and he used to do a kind of a karaoke show. Him and Andy would play a song and sing it, and the caller that called in had to like finish the line. And then Colin gave it a break and told him, why don't you get Chuck Oney? And so I appreciate that, Colin, by the way. I always tell him that. So we called it Oney Okie. And I got to know Andy, really well from that. And it was so much fun. And, he wanted to take a break after we did it for a few months. And then, unfortunately, he passed away before we got back together. But it was so much fun. It was fun just being goofy on the air and playing songs.
What was he like?
He was, he was a genuine, likable guy. You were going to get a hug and a brother and a pat on the back. And what I liked about him is it took us a while to get him to kind of be aware of the VEG, to get on his radar. But once you got on his radar, he championed you, man. He didn't play us so much on the radio as he got us like cool gigs, like, the LC or Kimba Now or whatever. And just made people aware of you, and even you as a person. Like he would tell Chuck Oney stories on the air, Colin Gal story. He would tell stories about you, and like people would go, "Hey, I heard them talking about you on the radio," and I'd be like, "Really? Yeah." And even Archie now from QFM 96 does that kind of stuff too.
He does.
And Ronnie Hunter. And Maggie Brennan from WCBE,
Christy Kemper too.
Christy, yeah, exactly. She's a big supporter, and you need somebody like that. And Andy Man was the first for me. I take that back. When I first moved to Columbus, there was Sue Wiggins in town. She worked at QFN 96, and she was a really big champion of Oney. Like before we even played, she was playing our music all the time. My father passed away. She mentioned it on the air. But she moved out of town, like right after we moved here, maybe a year later. So, but after that, it would have to be Andy Man that really like kind of championed any band I was in. And that was in the VEG then, with actually a couple former guys of Oney. And he just, local bands need that, man. They need, I hope Randy gets another station back up. I know they're streaming and stuff now. And Tom Butler on there, he supports the bands and plays the bands in the front stage every night. But you got to have that, man. I mean, any town that has musicians and music, you gotta have airways. Like I work for WSU, we bring people in for Broad and High and they play live, and we play their local music on that show and Columbus Neighborhoods at the end of the credits. Even if it's just a snippet, you're getting ears on your music that you normally wouldn't get. And if you don't get that in a community that you're trying to play and support, it goes hand in hand. You play a charity event for them, they play your music. And one thing about Columbus is and I'm getting off on a tangent, but
you're good.
They've always been people like that champion. And Andy was not the first one that I met in Columbus, but the one who not only championed my band and my music, but me as a person.
Yeah.
And so,
That's
I mean,
cool.
he became a friend. He owned a club, and we went to his club and played. And I remember one time he pulled me aside when
That was the Treehouse.
The
right?
Treehouse. He actually pulled me aside one time at the Treehouse. there for a brief period from about 2001 to 2002, the Veg started doing really, really well. And I remember one time, and the treehouse was still new then, but he pulled me aside and said, "Hey, I just want to let you know, this is the biggest crowd we've ever had here." And I'm sure like Willie Phoenix and Watershed after that, all those kind of bands, they blew that out. But at that one moment in time, he told me there was probably about 200 people there. It was pretty crowded, and he pulled me aside enough to say, "Hey, this was the biggest crowd we've ever had here," and I was just like, "Great, man, I appreciate that." And so, I mean, you need that from people in the music community, and you know, and just having people just, you know, kind of on your side. You know, they are. Now, he wasn't always on our side. You know, we had to kind of chase him down and stuff. And I wish he would have played us. We never got into regular rotation like the Watersheds, the Howlin' Maggies, the X-Rated Cowboys. You know, we never got that far, but he helped us as much as he could.
Yeah, you were in
the mix. Yeah, we were in the mix, and like, you know,
sometimes that's good.
Yeah,
good enough.
Good
right?
enough. It is. Yeah. I mean, you take what you can get, right? That's what we're all doing this for.
So cool, man.
Yeah. Whether it's, you know, we get the golden prize or we just get 2 fans. That's all that matters. And I still got people that come up to me and they'll say, "Hey, man, I remember hearing you on, you know, at the karaoke. What song were you singing?" And I'm like, "Oh, I don't remember. We did a few."
Well, you know, from those days forward to Chuck, I think you got a really good pulse on the music scene.
Yeah,
and the various genres that utilize various neighborhood venues,
right?
And so, I'd be interested if you're willing to do this, but
sure.
your perspective on those various scenes and where those venues are that are providing the stage for those genres.
Well, I think like, you know, like a lot of the cover bands, they're playing like the Barns and the Turtle Creek Taverns. And, you know, even some more clubs that I think.
Fenders.
Fenders is a big one. Lazy Chameleons, another big one. Fenders and Lazy Chameleon, I think, are owned by the same person.
They are.
And those kind of bars have always been, you know, the Veg played the Lazy Chameleon a couple times, and they were great. They were totally cool to us and stuff. We opened up for Pat D'Annunzio of Smithereens there.
Oh, that's sweet.
But and that's that scene, and I see that scene as being all this older musicians who have been around for a while. And are now, you know, our dreams of making it super big are not happening, but we still want to play music and have fun. That whole scene I see is really kind of exploding, you know, with like, you know, the Radio Tramps and all the other bands that are around town that, you know, I know the Radio Tramps is Jimmy King's band.
Well, Jimmy King's band is the Martini Affair.
Yeah,
yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
And they've been around for a while too. And Tiffany joined them, and Headbangers, Hangover, and there's like, I can go on and on.
Oh my God.
Yeah. That scene, you know,
so all those clubs are really bringing in popular and it seems that the popular demand is rock oriented, pop oriented, power pop oriented.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. And then there's like the Rumbas downtown and Asa Cups that are still doing the punk. There's a whole new generation like Prime Directive and Mathematics and who are all doing, you know, Loud Pedal. They're all doing
bracket though, man.
Yeah,
not all of them, but some of them are.
But Joey's like in Loud Pedal too, and all those bands that he plays with, the Mamillas. I'm probably saying their name. The band that dresses up like mummies. They all like, you know, the whole new punk rock scene down there. You know, they're all doing that again, and that's cool, man. I mean, because that's what like people, you know, our age was Stashes and Little Brothers and all that kind of stuff. So they're doing that. I see that scene, and, you know, I don't get out. There's another club. I don't know if it's still around now. It was on the west side. That was like a Stoop. The Stoop. I don't know if the Stoop is still around, but they were doing like punk rock shows and stuff. And then there's still like the guy I'm playing with for the '80s power ballad, John Estep. He goes to the Dirty Dungarees. And they do those punk, man. They get crazy, and those kids are young. But that's, you know, it's live music. I'd rather people do that than you know, sampled. You know, they're not playing real music. They're just electronic. Well, even that, they're just fake singing, and you know, they're not even really singing. And you know, I'd rather see kids in Dirty Dungarees jumping up and down and, you know, punching each other in the head because they're digging the band that's playing live. You know, I mean, that's just where I come from. And John goes to all that kind of stuff. John Estep, he goes to all those punk rock concerts and living room concerts and stuff like that. So there's that whole scene too. you know, and there's even like the more sophisticated bands like the Floorwalkers who get all the cool summer gigs. You know, they play all the fun stuff. You know, they're good as doing their style of music. And then there's Hoodoo.
Oh my god!
Yeah, they're always, you know. I mean, those are like super
Still-
serious players.
Are they still holding church at the Rumba every Sunday night?
I believe so. Yeah. And then there's the Moonbats. I mean, there's so many bands around town. And Pretty Filth. I got to mention the Pretty Filth doing the '80s rock. And
I know they love you.
I just saw the Pretty
there's a
Filth
shout out.
open up, you know, the other day, and that's the best I ever heard them. I was just blown away.
At the King of Club show?
Yeah,
or-
that was
yeah.
the best I've ever
Oh,
heard
yeah.
of Pretty Filth, and I've seen them since day one, and I was just like, oh my goodness,
That's a fun story,
they
man.
are good, man.
They are.
They've I will.
And they love you. What's your intersection with the Pretty Filth, Josh? And
Well, I
Joy?
met them when I was working for Bethel Row Pub, and they were looking for a show, and so they said, "Hey, we got this band, we want to play." And then I actually
did you know them before that?
no, I did not know
so it
them,
was a
but
cold
I had
call.
a friend of mine's band who was in another '80s band, and they wanted to play. So I said, "Hey, how about you two bands play together?" Because Pretty Filth, I don't think had a full night's worth of material. And at that time, and probably the whole 3 years I worked there, that was the biggest crowd that ever came to the Bethel Row Pub.
Was everyone that Angela and Josh had brought in?
Probably
Yeah.
it was.
Well, they can do that.
It was crazy packed, and I mean, even the opening band was
still do.
really
They're just
good.
bigger crowds.
Yeah, it's just bigger crowds, and you know they had a good crowd the other day at King of Clubs with the AC/DC tribute band.
Yep.
Thunderstruck, which by the way, one of our drummers in Oney was their drummer, not the drummer they have now, but the guy before him. Small world, but yeah, so that's how I met them. And then they came and they played a couple times, and then we just became friends. I mean, you cannot know the Kulos and not become friends with them. And then like hang out with them and go to concerts with them, and you know that's kind of how we became friends. And
So many.
and they support me. They
Thousands.
come and see me play. Like when I'm just playing a coffee house, they'll show up, you know, and just hang out and stuff. So they're probably two of the best representatives of people in town supporting other musicians.
They do. They do such.
They-
They do.
I mean,
and
they go
all
see
different people.
Everybody.
Yep.
I mean, you know, the Johnson Brothers, they'll go see them. Johnson Brothers, I'm old friends with. Before they were a cover band, you know, they were original band, and the Vague used to open up for those guys all the time.
Aaron.
Aaron Pickering and Doug Beal on guitar. You know, they were always funky. They were always crazy. And then they kind of switched it to the cover thing, which they did well, and which I'm not surprised because that's kind of the style of the songs they play. And every once in a while, I think they played the Johnson Brothers. I think they did a show last year as they did it, Natalie's as the Johnson Brothers, and played their original. So they got some good tunes, man. I mean, they're making money now, but they got some good tunes.
That's cool.
Yeah. So that's how I met the Kulos, just through Bethel Row Pub, and then like they just became friends, man. You know, they're good people, and they're fun to know, and
They're awesome.
yeah. So
Love-
I mean,
love
yeah,
them both.
Yeah, we've went to Cincinnati to see Motley Crue and Poison and New York Dolls, and then I've you know they've come to tons of my shows, and I try to go out and see them as much as I can. Like I said, I can't go out every week, and they play a lot. So
Yeah, they do, but they're they're really selective
Yeah.
these days, and they can be.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah,
and it's good.
yeah.
I'm just really interested in where that band's going to go. I mean, how far they're going to take it. Just humble beginnings to what they're
Right,
doing today.
yeah.
To like where because they both I think have a lot more in them to.
Oh, yeah.
to keep rocking and sharing that energy and friend.
And they're good friends with the other 80s band Rock House.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
They go all over the United States. They're kind of like a national band now and stuff. So I mean, those bands they all are friends, and they're all they're good, and every one of them has kind of their own take. There's a lot of 80s bands in Columbus that kind of do that thing, but everybody kind of has their own spin on it.
They
something
do,
like
and
that.
I think everybody has their own goals and their own, their
Yeah.
own scene they want to create.
Yeah, and ultimately they're all just doing it for fun.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, we're all just doing it for fun. None of us are making a living out of this. We're not. It's not our careers. They all got day jobs, and at this point, it's just for fun. And occasionally, you get somebody to say, "Hey, you were good." That's all. That's all that matters, man.
Dude, you've been around and you've seen a lot. You've created a lot. What's the funniest thing you've seen?
The funniest thing I've seen as far as
Like being at a show and,
let's see.
You can't make this shit up kind of story. I probably, if it threw you for a loop, don't worry about it. But usually someone's got a couple of those in their back pocket. And you strike me as a guy who might have seen a thing or two.
I have. I've seen some things that are probably
some you're not going to talk about.
Not going to be talked.
That's always the case.
Yeah, there was a few drunken nights. I'm trying to think of what happened recently that was goofy or funny. I got some really like more out of town stories, but I'm trying to think of what happened recently. One thing that I can talk about is, I guess I'm trying to think of off the top of my head. One thing I can think of is we brought, when we were in the Veg and we were playing Old Fields on High. I don't know if you remember the band Enough's Enough. They sang Fly High Michelle and New Thing. They were out in the 80s. Well, their singer married a girl from here that was a friend of ours, and that we became. They were here for Christmas and they wanted to play a show. He wanted to play a show, and at the time he was kind of leaving it. He's left Enough's Enough now, but at the time he was first this is 2003. He was first wanting to leave the band, so he was kind of testing the waters. So his wife suggested that we play a show with him here in town and that we be like his backing band. So we were all huge Enough's Enough fans. And actually, these are the two guys that I'm talking about are going to be playing with me at the Veg reunion next month, May 18th at Little Rock.
Yes.
The drummer and the guitar player and me were in this band, the Veg. And so Donnie V came to my house. We had a band house at the time, and we had to rehearse with him for 3 days. So we asked him what songs he wanted us to learn, and he said they only had like 2 hits, but that first album is really good. The first 2 albums they have are really good. He didn't want to play anything off that. It was like, I don't want to play any of that stuff. I just want to play some other stuff. You guys tell us what to play. Well, Scott Carr, our guitar player, is a huge fan of that band. He actually bought their album that had not been released in the United States, but he got a Japanese release of it. And he said, hey, how about we learn this song called Saturday that's on that release? So we learned that. We learned a bunch of other songs. I think we did eventually learn For Now off the first album, and Baby Loves You off the second album, which we are playing May 18th at Little Rock.
That's on 4th Street.
That's on 4th Street.
Columbus, Ohio.
Yes. So anyway, we learned these songs. We rehearsed with him, and he was let's just say, pain in the ass, but also very talented. This guy could play, and we were just like, holy shit. We did a version, just jamming. I wish I had a cell phone that recorded anything at the time, because we did a version of Beatles' Blue Jay Way with him on keyboards and me and him singing harmonies. That was just amazing. And unfortunately, it went into either the airwaves. We never recorded it. We were just jamming it. So anyway, it comes the day of the show. That is the night that the Ohio State Buckeyes were playing in the national championship game.
It never fails.
Dude. They were playing Miami, and we were at Old Fields. So Old Fields decided, and I think you may have heard me tell a little bit about the drummer, the brother who was the door guy, who of the bar owner, who skimmed a little off the top for the bands. Anyway, go back to the story. So we're playing its national championship.
Dude, I don't edit.
So anyway, that bar's long gone. So they decided they did not want us to start playing until after the national championship game was done, which back in those days ended like at almost midnight, 11. So sometime, I think at halftime, it ended like at 11:30 midnight, somewhere around there. So the Veg got up and we decided to curtail our set real quick. So the people who were there, and it was pretty crowded, were there to see Donnie V. And so we played like a quick 20-minute set, and then we went to go find him, but we couldn't find him. And he was in the back. And he was kind of a character. he had been drinking a little bit since 8 o'clock when we all got there because we thought we were all starting at 9. So I went to the back and I was like, "Hey man, you're on next." We're his backing band. Yeah. And he looks at me and he goes, no, you guys finish tonight. Well, I'm good.
He's done.
And I was like, I had to kind of get in his face. And I said, "Hey, man, people are not here to see us. They're here to see you." So we get up on stage with him.
Oh, so you got his ass up.
We got him up on stage. And like, as we get up on stage, he looks at us and says, "Let's just play all Beatles songs. Let's not play this other crap we rehearsed." Dude. And I had to like grab him and go, no, listen, there's a set list. You are going to play what's on the set list. So we played it. And the only other thing was he went into Stand By Me, like off the cuff. Luckily, Scott, our guitar player, heard the chords and went, yelled them out at us. So me and the bass player could figure them out. I was actually playing bass on that show, me and the other guitar player. So we got through the show. At the very last song, we did No Matter What by Badfinger. And we were building this big crescendo. Now, I actually did not see this because I had my guitar against a stack, a Marshall half stack, and I was getting feedback. So I was looking at the guitar away from the crowd. Well, Donnie V decides to jump into the drum set a la Kurt Cobain in the video, and lands on our drummer's ride cymbal and like smashes it so it pops the other way.
Did he impale himself?
He did not impale himself, but I thought the drummer, Chris Mills, former bass player of Radio Tramps, who is actually going to be playing with us May 18th. I thought he was going to, at Little Rock, I thought he was
on 4th Street.
On 4th Street. I thought he was going to kill Donnie V. He was yelling at him and like pushing him off his drums. And that's about my funniest story. But the people who stayed around for that part, because a lot of people left after the game, and Donnie was a little he was a little crazy, but the people that stuck around, Archie from QFM 96 is one of them. They talk about that as like one of the greatest nights they've ever seen.
In rock and roll.
It was a rock and roll night, man. It was crazy. And then it was time to get paid, and we all didn't make very much money. And I was like, how did we not make very much money? The place was packed.
And no extra for the antics.
No extra for the antics.
Chuck Oney.
Yeah.
Can you top that one?
I don't think I can. I think we're done here, man. No, I see your bed, and I think it's getting late. I'm going to have to spend the night here.
This is actually the spare bedroom.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Oh, wait a minute. Who's that? Hi, are you the maid?
I thought you had a girl.
I do. She's the maid.
Dude, I'm so happy that you were able to make it tonight.
I've been a long time listener, and I'm glad you got me in here, man. I really appreciate it.
Oh, heck yeah.
I love talking about me more than anything else.
Well, you got a lot of energy, and we're looking forward to your next release of Creative Juice and music.
Yeah.
We'll put a link to your new album, or your latest album, I should say.
Yeah.
To the Spotify streaming.
Right on. I appreciate that.
That'll be good stuff because it will get you hopefully some more exposure to then that's about immaterial. That's really cool, man.
Hey, man, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, and that is episode number 67, Chuck Oney.
It's 67 is the summer of love.
Love it, and thanks so much for listening. Bye-bye.
Bye.